All right, good evening, everyone. This is a very important session because we'll be discussing certain recurrent questions that they've been asking in the SLAT interview. Given that some slots have already been over, so all of these questions will be based on that. Um, I would also like constant interaction and also inputs from your end, whereas if you remember any questions that was asked from you, from Hyderabad, Noida, Pune, all the other symbiosis centers. Okay, so the interview has been happening online. Um, Again, given that these people are quite busy, so not everybody switches on their camera. You will probably have a very different panelist throughout different centers and even throughout different time periods. So, there could be a couple of people, like 3 to 4 people sitting. Sometimes there could only be 1 or 2 people there in the interview. Some people will have their camera on, some will have it off. Okay, so the scenario could be completely unpredictable and cannot be predicted beforehand. So please be prepared for the worst. Okay, you can have scenarios where nobody has their camera on and it's just you. So you have to be comfortable in those scenarios as well. Okay, so following the whole, once you join the interview, you greet everybody, you say good morning, so and so. They will throw questions your way. So the interview will probably last not more than 10 minutes because they have tons of interviews lined up. So the interview will usually start with an introduction. If they're sick of it, if they're sick of hearing introductions over and over, they might not ask you introduction as well. So it will start with an introduction. Now you must know how to pose and how to design your introduction beforehand. Do not sit in the interview without preparing. Okay, kindly design your questions beforehand because you will be very nervous during the interview. Okay, so you have to be in a very calm state. So if you're prepared beforehand, you will be very calm and composed. So design an introduction. Okay, just start with your name. Okay, this is the city I am from. Okay, in 11th or 12th, these were my subjects. I'm a commerce student, science student, humanities student. um, then if you're a dropper, maybe you can add that as well. Or I graduated in so and so year, you can add that. And keep it short and sweet. If you think that this was if you are a very quick speaker and you were done with this in within 20 seconds, then just add just a little bit of your extracurriculars. And I would say highlight the extracurriculars that are more relevant to the law part of them. Okay, like debating, oration, uh, extempore competitions. If you were in part of any of those, then always put those right into the intro. Even if you were part of the student council, okay, if you were part of the if you were a head boy, head girl, house captain, vice house captain, sports captain, always a good plug. Okay, because it really makes the students stand out. Okay, so technically there are 3 to 4 types of buckets where they could ask you a question from. So there is your personal life. Okay, they can ask you your parents, what your parents do. Okay, so there are a lot of students who will be coming from the law background and they can actually check. They actually know beforehand because you might have mentioned it sometimes in your resume as well. So they will ask you some personal questions as well. Always have them ready beforehand. If you have a sister or a brother or a cousin or somebody you really look up to from that college, always plug in that. Okay, it's a perfect plugin because that initiates a motive, a sense of motive, or why is the student really applying for this college. Okay, so personal is also covers your extracurriculars and your hobbies in general. Try to highlight the hobbies that are again more in line to the profession of your choice in future. So in law also there are multiple professions. I would like you to take like some moment to think over it. Okay, don't go blank like I have no idea what will be doing in law later. I just want to do law for now. Please don't do that. Okay, because there is going to be a lot of students who will be coming with a clarity of vision. So that is something that is bare minimum. That is something that they expect from you. So have some clarity. um, Pick a judiciary, law, corporate law, litigation, IP, criminal law, civil law. Just pick a name. It really shows that this person has a clear motive to joining the institution. So have that prepared beforehand. Okay, will be a great segue into the questioning part of that bit of profession. Like, if you want to do corporate law, why corporate law? Okay, where do you want to do corporate law? Okay, so what companies, if you really want to do corporate law, I really recommend researching a couple of companies, probably top 5, top 10. Okay, research them, have a motive. Okay, I want to join this company for so and so reason. Even if it is a capitalistic motive, do not hide away or do not shy away from expressing that. It's completely fine. Okay, then if you want to do civil or litigation law, try to justify it again through your personality, through your character. Okay, like, I am somebody who's very just in person, I love justice, I want to provide fairness in society. Some altruistic motive is like always a good plug-in. Okay, so if you are altruistic in nature, perfect. Always plug in for something like, I want to work pro bono. Okay, I want to help the underprivileged, I want to I want to represent the marginalized communities of the nation. Okay, so these were all very general and personality and character based questions. Then they can move into your academic bucket. Now, a lot of you will be attaching tons of certificates and you will be attaching a lot of extracurriculars in your resume. That really gives them a point where they will be asking you a lot of questions related to that, just to prove that, are you like actually somebody who is actually really good at that XYZ, whatever you've attached. So if you are good at sports and you've attached like tons of certificates related to tennis competitions, they might ask you again a good GK set of good GK questions on tennis, basic surface level. Or if they're getting a bit too deep, because they will, so the question level of questioning, they start a little bit too easy. If you're able to tackle them quite confidently, they get to, they get a bit in depth of the subject, and they'll start asking difficult questions on that subject to, like, startle you. Don't get startled. Okay, don't get scared. If you don't know, just say, I'm afraid I do not know the answer of that question, or I'm afraid I cannot recall the answer of that question at this moment. Okay, don't get too scared. GK, because there's not enough time. Okay, whatever GK you know, you've already prepared for it. Do not go out of your way and start panicking and, going all over the whole current affairs right now. Whatever you know, just stick to that. If you don't, very confidently express that I don't know. Okay, so this is how they can cross question you on the basis of your resume inputs, your extracurriculars, and then segue it into GK questions. So this is bucket two. Okay, bucket two is everything related to resume and your extracurriculars and or your certificates that you've been attached. Okay, could be theater, dance, whatever it is. Have your justifications ready. Okay, so the third bucket is all the legal application questions. I mean, again, all of this has already been asked and catered in the SLAT exam. There is no point of it being asked again. But if they see potential in you, if they see that you scored really good in the SLAT exam, they might again ask you. And if they're human beings sitting right in the opposite side of your computer screen, they need some certain amusement for themselves. So if they're really bored of asking personal questions over and over, they might want a bit of change, and they will ask you some legal questions. Again, legal questions will be nothing new. Okay, they might be almost everything related to your choice of profession. So just a few minutes ago I said, have a certain direction ready. Okay, so like judiciary, corporate law, litigation, whatever, have them ready. So if they are going to ask you legal question, there's a higher chance it will be related to that. So if you said judiciary, there's a good chance they will ask you, okay, the Indian Chief Justice, okay, who was the one last year, or the first female Indian Chief Justice, or just GK questions related to that. And then they can ask you some application based questions. Like there was a case, a very popular case in America of Luigi Mangione, right? Luigi Mangione is a very much he's a very much of a culprit. Okay, and he's not really, there's no, again, he's allegedly a culprit. But if you were the judge, okay, and if there's a mass appeal, the mass appeal or the mass the mass judgment, or the judgment of the mass is not really seeing him as a criminal, and whereas your proof and all of the evidence that is given to you sees him as a criminal, what would you do? Okay, would you go through the would you go to the would you go and appeal to the mass judgment, or would you stick to your set of evidences and rules given to you? So that's some tricky questions that they could ask, which is again a hybrid of current affairs and your legal aptitude and your moral justification of certain cases. Okay, the last bucket would be the most significant parts would be why SLS. Okay, so whatever center that you are aiming for, whatever center you are aiming for, let's say Hyderabad, Noida. Okay, now if you're giving an interview for Noida, they will ask you why Noida out of all the SLS centers. Have your answers sorted. Could be anything, but have a very logical answer sorted, that this is closer to my house, or yeah, the commute would be easy, or there's certain alumni that is from SLS Noida, and hence I want to access the same resources, hence SLS Noida, or any reason. Just have a strong reason ready beforehand. Okay, goes for all the centers. Then in general they will ask you why SLS in general. So I would want you to visit their website, okay, and learn all their services very properly. Kindly avoid saying that it is one of the best institutions and blah blah blah. They are sick of this. Okay, they've heard this since morning, so they know that, and they themselves know that they're one of the best institutions. So skip that part. Okay, keep your answers very to the point and very succinct. So be very honest. Okay, if you've had a cousin or if you had a sibling studied there, you can always go there. Again, plugging in an alumni shows a great research. Plug in that, okay, this is the person I idolize and he's from this college, hence this college. Okay, um, just in general say, there's good faculty, there's good extracurriculars, there's wonderful moot court competitions, there are exchange programs, all the services that you personally like and you personally think would add value. Plug in those. So whenever it comes to why SLS Pune, there are two things. First, why SLS Pune for you, and then you can also, in general, also add why. If there is a question, if it is reframed, that why should we select you? Okay, again, a very googly sort of a question, like why should we select you out of the ocean of candidates that are applying for this? Here, don't start speaking about how SLS Pune is so wonderful and all of that, or SLS whatever. They know that, okay, and hence they know that there's an ocean of candidates. In this sort of question, you will explain why and how will you contribute to that college. Okay, so why you for that college? Now you will just again learn all your extracurriculars and your hobbies and try to align it with their services. So my extracurriculars or my personality or my character could help you here. Okay, so because I've in previous experience led on multiple projects. Okay, so I have leadership role and I have research role, development role, all of that. So try to justify and plug in all of that so that person knows that this person is a great investment to our college and the seat that we are giving them. Okay, so just try to justify your position and your seat in that college. So think over it. Okay, do not be very spontaneous. Try to maintain a sheet of all the questions that they could ask and write answers beforehand. So even if you could recall a certain keywords at that point of moment, it would really help you. Another very sick and very general question is why law? Okay, why law? Okay, you've given SLAT, you've given CLAT. There is a reason. Okay, so why law? Now, I told you again, you will probably be picking one of the specific professions, but this is more of a general question of why law in general. So here you can again get super creative, get super creative. You can just build up a small tiny anecdote, right? Because I had a best friend in school, and he was from this marginalized community, and I've seen the things that he's gone through, and because I'm such a just and fair person, I would like to represent certain communities, and such communities I would like to not happen. I would not like this to happen again in the future in my country. Always a good plug-in, but have your story a bit realistic. Okay, more focus on the conviction part more. So there's why law, why SLS. Then they can ask you, then they can ask you what are your 5 years plan, 10 years plan. um, have a very brief plan. Again, don't get too much into details. Have a very brief plan. If you go too much into details, they will ask you those details. Okay, they will ask you those specific details, and then over preparing is like would be a bit overwhelming. So keep it very short. Okay, I want to do this, then maybe I want to do LLM, and then I want to become a professor. Now why a professor? Because I in general like teaching, or my mother's a professor, my father's a professor. Having a connection somewhere with your family really helps, because it's a very naturalistic environment. Okay, it's a very natural habitat for a child to follow a similar path, that similar of that of his parents. So it's a very natural and a very good justification for your choice. Okay, and the certain law, basic law questions like what is tort, what is absolute liability, what is your stance on freedom of speech. Okay, basic questions related to law can be obviously asked. Now, this is all circumstantial. Okay, it depends. Now, if your slot is somewhere in the beginning, they'll be super enthusiastic and they'll be keep throwing you questions, fresh questions. In the middle, their enthusiasm will probably medal down, and then they will not have the same energy. By the end, they will have zero energy and they just want to get it over with. So they will ask you certain basic surface level questions, and they will ask you more questions where they know you're stumbling. So do not stumble. Do not give them that leverage that, oh yeah, this is my weak point. This is where I'm falling apart. So kindly build on this. Okay. So don't give them that leverage ever. Whenever you don't know anything, just confidently tell them that I don't know. Do not make guesses and do not give wrong answers. Okay, if you think that one of these two are answers, I think it is this or this. Okay, or if you don't know, if you think 4 5 में से एक भी answer हो सकता है, just simply say I am sorry, I cannot recall the answer at this moment. Be very confident. This is not a test of questions. इसलिए तो specific questions किसी को भी नहीं पूछ रहे हैं, right? They are random arbitrary questions. It's a test of your personality. So make sure your personality, it displays confidence, it displays vision, clarity of vision. That's important. It displays intent, it displays motivation. Okay, now if you have a lot of extracurriculars, if you lot of extracurriculars, you've done MUN, you've done you were in student council, you've done sports also, and you're wonderful at academics also, they will basic question is one question they will ask is how did you balance those? Okay, how did you balance those, or how will you balance those if you encounter something similar in the university as well? So have the answer prepared in advanced again. Please focus on all the new GK and new current affairs topic, right? Niti Aayog and all the other current projects happening, because they could be thrown your way. Follow up certain new national news. Okay, any monumental legal cases that are happening right now, follow up on those carefully. Okay, now those follow-ups can be easily built on your stance on those. So again, have your stance ready as well. This is also a good judgment of your moral character also. So kindly do not be too cocky about certain situations. Try to be very objective. Okay. Hmm. Certain GK questions that you must focus is on one nation, one election. Okay, uniform civil code, basic law and GK sort of interconnected points that they could ask if there's somebody who's a very confident candidate and is answering question through and through. If you are from a particular state or a city, and if there's something happening, if you're from Delhi, then they will ask you your CGI name, and then your legislative assembly, your MLAs from Delhi, and your CM from Delhi, and certain hot topics that are happening around your city. So basic thing that you should know is first know about your city very well, and then your state, any projects that have been implemented in your state. Hmm. Now, if they see majority of your certificates are related to literature, they will ask you certain questions based on certain writers. They will ask you how, if you are actually an avid reader, what book have you read last, or they will give you a title of the book and they'll ask you who's the writer of that book. Okay, if you have written reading in your hobbies, that will also be followed upon in a very similar fashion. If you've written philosophy, they'll ask you certain philosophers, okay, and their particular philosophy that they follow. Again, they will throw you certain terms like um, altruism, existentialism, absurdism, and try to justify, or try to explain what those are. Okay, certain legal cases that you need to follow up or read, or you must know about, or you've already heard of it, are those that are happening at least in the last 6 months or before that, especially if hot cases like Arjikar medical case or Atul Subhash case. Okay, they will not just ask you details, but they can also ask you your stance on those cases. So have those stance ready, have your moral judgment on the certain cases ready. Okay, now there is no, again, fixed set of questions they're asking on GK. So be prepared for the worst. Again, if you don't know, just be honest. Have your whys ready, why law, why SLS. Okay, why SLS of certain center, have those ready. Have your introduction ready. Okay, have your perfect linear in a proper chronological order introduction ready. Okay, how are your hobbies, or how are you going to add value to their college, have that justification also ready beforehand. Certain legal concepts, dual citizenship, okay, all of that basic 21 article, all your articles please revise. Citizenship in general, what is it? If you're into music, they'll ask you certain things related to music. If you're into sports, they'll ask you certain GK related to sports. Again, I can't really confidently anticipate what GK questions will be thrown your way, but please go through your CV, and anything and everything surrounding your CV will be easily asked. Okay, so kindly research your extracurriculars very well. Okay, or your competitions, whatever the main discipline is, research that pretty well, and be very confident during the entire interview. And if you don't know something, just tell them I don't. And if you know something, okay, if you know that, if you think that one of these two are the answers, just tell it's either this or that. Okay, if there is more than two, then kindly tell them that I cannot recall it at this moment. Okay, just have your personality sorted. I think that's what is most important. A lot of GK questions that many students will not be able to answer, but your personality is what the main point of attraction of these interviews. So keep constantly smiling. Okay, be very confident. See, I've been using my hands throughout the interview. It's a very good point of attraction. So you can always use your hands, have a good strong eye contact. Okay, smile, thank them. Okay, if they ever compliment you, please thank them. Don't start blushing there, thank them. Okay, whenever you're done with the interview, thank them. Okay, be very confident and keep your answers very short and brief. Don't start telling them stories after stories after stories for one single question. Stick to the point, and that's it. All right, so thank you so much for joining the live. If there's any question that they've asked you, please let us know in the comments so other people can use those inputs for their preparation. Right? If there's anything that you realize was really out of ordinary in your interview, let us know as well. Okay, and that's it. Thank you. All the best for your interview, and then see you in the next live. Oh, yes. Yes, there's a comment. Yeah, you're asking me to wait. Is there any question from your end? What should be the answer of why law? Again, this is a completely subjective decision. Now, when you were preparing for all of the exams, there is a certain intent, right? Even if it is a high salary, that is still an intent. Okay, so have a creative answer ready. Okay, now for why law, you can also always take up your family and make it a very sentimental answer. Okay, because my mother is a lawyer, okay, or my father is a lawyer, or they've always wanted me to be a lawyer. Okay, or in general, I am somebody who really likes to, who's really into conflict resolution in general. Okay, I'm really into the Indian politics or legal politics of the country, right? Get very creative with your answer, but something that really aligns with your personality also. Okay, so if you have debate competition, moot court competitions in your mock interview, in your CV, then justify it through that, because I've always enjoyed participating in arguments, hence law. Okay, justify it through your extracurriculars, but because that shows that this person has been already practicing it beforehand in whatever means that they could. Okay, financial incentive, yeah, it is a bit of a sore point, so you can avoid it. It is fine. Just even if you are going in the capitalistic direction, try to justify it. Okay, now if you're saying corporate law, try to justify corporate law. Okay, because of so and so, because I want to work in this company. Okay, this is the intent of working in this company. Okay, I want to go in this sector of the company, and this is how I want to help grow the company. Or I want to start up my own company related to the certain service that we will provide. So you can not exactly exclusively say that this is a package that I'm looking for, but this is the way that I want to lead. Okay, so capitalistic motive does not really mean to completely disclose the salary package, but if there's any specific role you see yourself doing. Any other questions? Okay, course of action. Again, it's a very important topic for lawyers in general, because what will you do after that really speaks of the type of authority you possess and what is the next step would you be doing. So what did you say then? Were you a little startled by the whole question? If I slap you right now, what would be your course of action? What a bizarre question to be asked. I would say there's another bucket. Let's call it bucket 5, where they're asking such bizarre and unpredictable questions simply to, scare the student in front of them or to amuse themselves personally. So it's completely fine. It depends on the way you handle the situations. How did you handle it? What did you say? Okay, yes, if you are assuming yourself as like, yeah, no, even as a citizen, it is still battery and fair compensation is required for it. So yeah, it makes sense. That's a very good and confident way to tackle a question like that. Perfect way of conflict resolution. Good. Okay, any other questions before we end the stream? After the stream, also, you can put your questions in the chat. We will try to answer it through the comments themselves, so you don't miss out on any other details from our end. Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for joining the live. I'll be ending the live. Okay. Use the comment box for constant interaction and questions. Thank you so much.